Good evening. This is CTV News for Wednesday, January 7th. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Patricia Valone. Thank you for joining us. Well, authorities tonight say a dump truck driver intentionally rammed two police cruisers in what appears to be a racially motivated incident. Police say it happened late this morning at the Woodmore Town Center. Two white officers were replacing car fluid when a 31-year-old black truck driver passed by them. The driver reportedly exchanged words with the officers, circled the parking lot, then came back and rammed the cruisers.
That the driver of this dump truck then gets out and then confronts the officers in some capacity. We're obviously investigating and trying to get statements from the officers and other witnesses on scene, and also I understand there may be some video to corroborate this, but very preliminarily we think his initial stance is very aggressive coming out of that dump truck, and his intention was likely to attack the officers. They showed great restraint. They were able to arrest the driver without really any incident.
The officers were not in their vehicles at the time. The investigation is still ongoing, but authorities say the driver faces possible charges of assault, destruction of property, and even attempted murder.
Maryland's Board of Public Works approves $210 million in cuts to the state's current year operating budget. It's part of an effort by Governor Martin O'Malley to shrink a budget deficit of more than $400 million this fiscal year, which ends in June. The outgoing leader presented part of his reduction proposal to the board today in Annapolis. The panel is authorized to make spending cuts when the General Assembly is not in session. O'Malley says he will offer about $200 million more in fund transfers and budget reductions when lawmakers convene next week. Those actions require legislative approval.
Today I will be asking, this administration will be asking the Board of Public Works to approve $410 million in budget reductions to balance the fiscal year 15 budget. This is the 9th time that I've asked the board to approve mid-year budget cuts. There are no layoffs to state employees, no cuts to K-12 education.
Do I like everything that's contained within the proposal? Of course not. Nobody wants to sit here and sign off on significant cuts to mental health care, the developmentally disabled, colleges and universities. But at moments like these, when the state is spending more than it's taking in, I firmly believe it is the governor's responsibility and his prerogatives to make these difficult choices.
There was a 4% increase this year for community services for people with developmental disabilities, and that may sound like a lot, but it comes on years and years of chronic underfunding, and it was put in the budget really to help offset the impact of the minimum wage increase that was adopted this year. And so we were really counting on that 4% to be able to raise the wages of our direct support staff.
Governor-elect Larry Hogan takes office on January 21st. His budget proposal for next fiscal year is due to the General Assembly 2 days later.
Those who are sick stay at home, that's number one. And number two, those who are sick with fever get treatment. And right now there is Tamiflu available for those who are sick to get that treatment. And thirdly, to practice good cough and sneezing etiquette, where people are asked, students and staff are asked to cough into their sleeve, to use hand sanitizer, to ensure that we have sanitized our classrooms, our desks, our doorknobs, and the like.
As a particularly rough strain of the flu hits peak season, the Prince George's school system says it's taking precautionary measures to fight the virus, but it's also asking for anyone with a fever or other symptoms to stay home.
There has been a peak in December just before the holidays, and we expect that to continue through January and February. So we are anticipating an increase in influenza-like symptoms among our student population.
Given that they're saying the flu shot is not actually the strain that is coming out and people are seeing, do you still recommend getting the shot?
The Centers for Disease Control and our health department continue to recommend getting a flu shot. That even if there are reports that the strain has mutated, the flu shot, the current flu shot, provides some level of protection.
On Monday, January 14th, the Cheverly Health Center Immunization Clinic and the Leonard Dyer Regional Health Center will offer free flu vaccinations. It'll be a great opportunity for those in particular who do not have health insurance.
Police have identified the driver killed yesterday on Route 50 in Annapolis. 43-year-old Jeffrey Kaplan lost control of his car and hit a median. He then got out of his vehicle and was standing beside it when an SUV struck and killed him. It's incidents like this one that are prompting Maryland State Police to remind drivers to be safe during the weather months.
Well, if you were out and about driving yesterday, you know it was certainly a very challenging day to be out on the roads. And state police here in Forestville tell me that they saw a 200% increase in the number of accidents and incidents that happened out compared to a normal day. And today they are offering some tips to keep motorists safe. Let's say folks are involved in an accident. What is the best thing that they can do?
The most important thing with an accident, they're going to happen, especially this time of year. If no one's injured, try to move your vehicle safely out of the roadway. If you're unable to get your vehicle out of the roadway and you're in a heavily traveled thoroughfare, it's probably best to get out of your vehicle and seek shelter behind a guardrail or behind a Jersey barrier. After all, vehicles can be replaced, lives cannot. You want to make sure you have flares in your vehicle, water, safety triangles, things that will aid you in the event that your vehicle does happen to break down or become disabled along the roadway. Those are a great help, particularly at nighttime. But the most important portion of the Maryland Move Over law, I think people understand the move over portion. They kind of lose the fact that if you can't move over, you ought to reduce your speed. Okay, and that's critically important. We had an incident yesterday where a motorist failed to do both, and unfortunately they stuck a Jersey wall, came off of the Jersey wall, and did manage to strike one of our troopers' vehicles. Luckily, the trooper was outside the vehicle, and the parties involved in the collision that he was investigating, they were outside their vehicles also. Everyone was safely off the roadway. So this just goes to bring it home. Safety is paramount in these conditions.
So once again, the message here is slow down and pay attention. And Lieutenant Butler also mentions that if you can listen to the radio, if there are some alternative routes you can take, that certainly may be a good idea rather than taking some major highways if there is a traffic backup. In Forestville, I'm Sonia Srivastava for CTV News.
And we're told each year since 2009, an average of 500 people have been killed in traffic crashes on Maryland roads. Well, the National Weather Service has issued a wind chill advisory for Prince George's beginning at 10 p.m. tonight until 8 a.m. tomorrow. If you decide to go outside, take extra precaution by wearing multiple lightweight layers, as we expect temperatures to drop between 0 and 10 degrees. The County Health Department wants to warn everyone of the potential exposure to hypothermia and frostbite during these severe weather days. For more information about hypothermia and frostbite, head to princegeorgesmd.gov. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Patricia Val